Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to give you my first reading wrap up for the month of March. March has been a busy reading month for me. While stuck in quarantine, while stuck in self-isolation, I have been reading a ton. So I've also taken part in the Owls readathon, and I thought that I would split my wrap up into two halves, so stuff that I've read that doesn't count for the Owls and stuff that I've read that does count for the Owls. So this video, from the title, is just the stuff that I've read, like, because of not that stuff doesn't count for the Owls. So let's get into it. So these are coming to you in no particular order. I have read that much that I can't remember what order I read everything in, and to be fair, the days are just bleeding into one. So the first book I want to talk about is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is the follow-on in the series to A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I really enjoyed this. I thought that it took the story to a next level. Oh my gosh, the twists and turns in this book really drove me crazy. So if you're not familiar with the story, this follows the story of Fair, and it follows a couple of characters, but however, she is, in the first book, she kills a fairy and is imprisoned. And she gets like wound up into this huge kind of spider web of court politics, and Sarah J. Maas just manages to write kind of like characters that I'm pure trash for. Like, I'm just trash for the romances, trash for the storyline. This obviously wasn't anything like amazing, but I really enjoyed it. It was a really entertaining read, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna read the next one next month. So the next book I have for you is a graphic novel, and it is Fun Home by Alison Beechell. This I read for the Easter readathon, and it was such a disappointment to me. I had heard so many good things about this book, and this essentially follows the story of kind of like a quirky gothic household, and it follows the story of a relationship between a young girl and her father. And they're not quite as creepy as the Addams Family, but they own a funeral home. Her father is he's kind of like a very charismatic, quirky person. He's very into literature, and it does follow the life story of this young girl Alison, and kind of like her relationship with her father, and how she kind of grieved for her father, because at the very beginning of the story we find out that her father dies, and it's all about Alison kind of coming to terms with her father's death, and also her sexuality and her father's sexuality, because her father was gay, but that was very complicated. I really enjoyed the themes in this book. However, I found the art style really overwhelming. I don't know if you can see. It is a very word heavy graphic novel, and I tend to go into graphic novels and expect to look at pictures more than I read words. And I found that the format of that really irritated me, and it took me away from the story. I felt like the story at the end, especially when Alison was in college and definitely coming to terms with her sexuality a lot more, I liked it a lot more, and I would have liked to have heard more from that perspective. However, the father character also really frustrated me with some of the decisions that he made, and some of the ways that the family functioned I don't think was particularly healthy, but I guess that's kind of part of the book. But overall, this was quite disappointing. I expected to like it a lot more than I did, and I unfortunately didn't. The next book is Feminists, Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, which is a selection of essays curated by Scarlett Curtis. There are loads and loads of different authors in this, and it's a really lovely curated, really great intersectional feminist collection of essays. Obviously, naturally, with a collection of essays, you gravitate towards some more than others. And I definitely found like this was the case with this book. However, there were some essays in here that I thought were really impactful and really good. And it was so great. Some of them made me like really tear up, and others kind of made me get really angry. But also kind of like the prospect of hope that was kind of left with this kind of collection. I thought that Scarlett Curtis did an amazing job of selecting such a diverse, wonderful array of people to write essays, and I also felt like the essays were the perfect length. Some of the essays were only 3 or 4 pages long, so the authors really had to get their point across quickly, and I found that it wasn't laborious to read because they were short, sharp essays with a lot of impact. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I really enjoyed the fact that I could pick it up and put it down because you didn't lose thread of a story because they all had a common theme. But really good. I recommend this for anybody who's interested in gender studies. I think that it's a really kind of essential read and a really nice introduction to feminist literature. The next book I read was a graphic novel, and it was volume 1 of Fables. I don't know who this is by, but this is basically a graphic novel series, or the start of a graphic novel series based around fairy tales and the idea of fairy tale characters existing in New York City. It was okay. I quite liked the art style in it. I thought the art style was pretty beautiful. However, and I really liked the mystery element of the story. However, I don't know, like the rest of it, I really wasn't grabbed onto. I felt like I kind of read it, not passively, but I didn't feel like I was attached enough to the characters to be like, oh my gosh, I need to read this, I need to have it in my life. So it was alright, it was good, not bad. I don't really have much to say about it, but I wouldn't. And the next book, unfortunately, is also not like a favourite. I feel like in my Owls read wrap up, there are books that I absolutely loved. However, anything I didn't read for the Owls, I didn't seem to like. Was Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. If you've been watching my vlogs, you know that I read this recently. This is my penultimate Rainbow Rowell books. I'm trying to read them all. This followed the story of Beth, Jennifer and Lincoln, and Lincoln gets a job kind of going through and checking people's emails to make sure they aren't saying anything weird. He comes across the emails of Beth and Jennifer, and Lincoln kind of reads these emails and reads these women talking about their personal lives, and he basically falls in love with one of them through email. I had a lot of problems with this. I thought overall the pacing was off. Even though it was a relatively short book, I just wanted them to meet, and they didn't meet, and that you didn't have that really cute, quirky, lovely romancy thing that I like in romance until like the last 20 pages of the book. This book is definitely a suspenseful, slow burn romance book, which isn't really my thing. I like to meet them and I like to see the relationship develop. I also didn't really enjoy that we heard from Lincoln kind of like first hand. However, we only ever got to know Beth and Jennifer through the emails, which I thought was a bit shoddy. However, the character of Lincoln was fairly likeable. I kind of wanted to give him a slap sometimes because I don't really know what he was doing in a dead-end job. He's portrayed as this really smart character who had got multiple degrees, and he just got on my nerves, and I just wanted him to like email back, or I don't know, it took place over a series of months and I found it quite frustrating. Anyway, this I rated I think 2 stars. I probably won't reread it, and it's my least favourite Rainbow Rowell book to date. This means I've only got Landline left to read, and I'm so reluctant to read it because I don't know, now I didn't like this one, I don't know if I'm not going to like the others. Anyway, that is my first reading wrap up for the month of, I said March at the beginning of the video. For April, let me know in the comments down below what you read. I am going to film a part 2 for this and tell you what I read for my Owls. But if you like it around here and love some joy, please subscribe and join this little family. But until next time, I will see you again soon. Goodbye.